It's time for Uncle Hank. Question everything with M. Kalani Souza and Uncle Hank Ferguson.
Hey gang, welcome back to Uncle Hank. I'm here with Uncle Hank Ferguson, and again, I'm Kalani Souza, and we're gonna question everything. And you know, the first big question is, what's up with this casino business?
Well, Rod, this is such a heavy subject, and we've got to really understand that this is palu. Okay, for you fishermen, you know what palu is. It's the bait. It's the chum. Okay, so what you need to understand is what is the goal? And the goal is federal recognition, and I can explain to you.
Federal recognition?
Yes.
Hank, how did they do that? How did they work that worm in?
Okay, so all this chatter that's going on, that's going through the legislature now, about casinos, having casinos on Hawaiian homestead lands in a partnership with some resort entity that's, I guess, is going to be leasing land or is leasing land from Hawaiian homes. Now, this whole gaming thing, this is something that's very crazy because, first of all, the state of Hawaii already does not allow gaming. Hasn't allowed for how long, right? That's why we all live in Vegas.
Yes.
Okay, so now why is there an interest, and if there's an interest in gaming over here, why is it on Hawaiian homelands? And this is very, very important. And that's because in order to get gaming on Hawaiian homelands, you'd have to first be recognized as an Indian tribe. And that recognition already throws you into a whole nother category. What you need to understand is what federal recognition really does. Okay? So under the Native American Gaming Commission, you'll see there's a whole series, there's actually 3 tiers of ways to become, how you become recognized, or you have to be recognized, and what interfacing you are going to do with the state. And by the way, the one that they've suggested now with the Hawaii State Gaming Commission is all lopsided, okay? They're not even supposed to be in the front of this. It's supposed to be the Hawaiians, if the Hawaiians are really doing this, okay? And it's questionable whether or not it's really Hawaiian motivated. Because if you look at the state plan, even under the grandest of their plan, you're still the smallest person on the block. You are 1 seat in that commission, okay? And nobody's telling you about all these other things that has to happen when you become recognized as a tribe. That's why I'm saying federal recognition is so important to understand. Under the tribal status, the federal government recognizes all tribes under the status of defeated nations. Defeated nations, and you are therefore wards of the federal government. Now, I'm saying this to you because, you know, it seems to me we've been fighting for like 128 years now, fighting for our sovereignty, and suddenly we're getting enticed in such a way where we suddenly don't put the two together, and we're really close to making a big fall that'll harm ourselves and certainly embarrass our ancestors.
Enticed, that's so interesting, Uncle Hank. I mean, when you stop and think about it, we've never had legalized gambling in Hawaii, mostly because the illegal gambling makes so much money for the Chinese tongs and the Yakuza and the people who operate in the shadows of paradise. But the thing is, with that, we've become one of the biggest market shares in Las Vegas. I mean, there's 2 hotels dedicated just to people from Hawaii who go up there and anywhere between 4 and 6% of Las Vegas's, bankable gambling income is off people from this state.
That's correct.
So yeah, no doubt, if there was a local casino, it would do well. But why wouldn't the state of Hawaii legalize gambling and have gambling in the state of Hawaii? Why do they have to do it through the native Hawaiian?
Well, first of all, again, this is about palu. They're trying to tell you that you can do it as a native Hawaiian. Of course, they're not telling you about the tribemanship stuff yet. It's coming up. The reason why they're doing that is because the moment they let loose on state gambling, then every form of gambling is going to come in here. And one of the biggest problems we've had with international gambling is all the crime factors and all the social injustices that go on.
Are we talking about like sexual slavery and the abuse that's going to happen? Not to mention the downturn, the psychology of the social units themselves.
Yes. Yes, when your people start trying to win their millions, like they're trying to egg you on to now, go get your millions and lose your rent, lose your welfare, lose your this, and lose your that, turn you to crime, sell your girls, sell your daughters off, and it's the social diseases of gambling is enormous. Well documented.
And that's well documented. The fact that most communities suffer greatly at the hands of these casinos.
Greatly, and even more so, casinos on Indian land.
Right, so it overwhelmingly impacts minority cultures worse than it does the dominant culture.
Yes, and there's a whole lot of things that, because we're so fascinated with the idea that we might get some money coming in here, we're forgetting who's going to make that money. Are you trained to gamble? Are you trained to do any of this managerial type of stuff that you're going to have to need to know? You don't think the Hawaiian Gaming Commission... It's going to be
like the construction industry, a whole influx of workers who are not from Hawaii
that is absolutely
coming
correct.
in and taking our place.
Absolutely correct. On your land. Okay, and here's the good one. In these kind of deals, guess who doesn't get to go to those casinos? The Hawaiian. Why? Because you have Hawaiian homelands, because you're on welfare, because you're on food stamps, on all the many things that
well, you gotta answer me this, and this is my question, right?
Okay.
If the federal government does not recognize Hawaiians, Native Hawaiians, how can we have a Department of Hawaiian Homeland?
This is why I'm saying this is all about the lure. Okay, in as much as I don't want to make anybody angry here, but the fact of the matter is everybody on Hawaiian homelands is already recognized under the federal government.
So they've already surrendered their sovereignty. They've already given up and become wards of the United States.
Yes, they have. However, there's a small little however there. They didn't necessarily know what they were doing when they did it.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to stop you right there because my understanding is under U.S. constitutional provisions, ignorance is no excuse of the law. So you can't sit there and say, well, I didn't know what I was doing when I pulled the trigger and killed that guy. It's like, you know what? If you're signing up for this from where I sit as a, locally raised Kanaka / Japanese / Portuguese boy, I'm telling you, from where I sit, it looks like they've given up their sovereignty to become wards of the federal government.
Okay, so what I was hoping to do today is add on to why you do not want to walk down that road. Because, first of all, you need to understand what is at stake. It's not just a gambling casino. It's federal recognition. That means everything that you held sacred and you fought for the last 128 years can be gone in a flash of a pen.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but when we talk to our Native American counterparts, they're saying that just because the federal government recognizes a tribe doesn't mean they give them the right to have a casino.
That's exactly right. But
so what comes first, the casino or the eggs?
That's what I'm saying. If you surrender yourself to the tribalism, is where you have the problem. And I'll tell you why. If you look at those documents I was talking to you about, the Native American Gaming Commission, you look at it, one of the provisions they have to allow gaming under Indian or reservation lands is that the natives themselves, first of all, those natives don't own the reservation. They don't own any of the land. It's all under United States government trust obligations. But what you do have to do is you have to surrender your pending land claims. Now, why am I saying that this way to you? Because that's the Ceded Lands Trust. That's your watersheds, that's your airports, that's your water ports, that's all your riverways, that's your beaches. All these things that it's so far away from our handle that we don't see it. But in fact, it is ours on paper and in law. And so, again, this whole thing about tribal gaming has got very little to do with that at all. It has to do with the bigger prize they're trying to get, which is the Ceded Lands Trust.
So it could end up like Alaska, where you got a bunch of out-of-state white guys owning these corporations that run the gambling, if they allow it. And we're saying that we would have to trust, let me get this straight, we'd have to trust the United States of America's administration to do the right thing regarding our process as we surrender
Yeah,
are independent.
That same trust that you've given to them for how long now? Since 1920?
Yeah, and not very trustworthy at all, are they?
And how many thousands are on the waiting list that they haven't been able to serve yet? And you're going to trust that?
And aren't they most recently doing a rent-to-own program? What the
Wow,
F is that all about?
I heard this is happening at Laiopua in Kona. And the way I understand this is that Hawaiian Homes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that's why I have these conversations, because don't trust even me. Go ask the questions so you know what you're talking about.
Okay, gang, you see, even here, we want you to question Uncle Hank, question me, question everything that's going on. And this casino thing is far from over, right, Hank?
Oh, it's just started. They got 4 bills in the legislature right now. What's really amazing is it's not like the state doesn't know what it's doing. They have the same access to the same internet that I do. I can go in there, look up native gambling, gives you all the rules and regulations. And one of the things it talks about is how the states have nothing to do with it.
Well, thank you for that, Uncle Hank. And I got to tell you, when we look at this burgeoning problem that's going to continue on our state platform for the next few rounds, I got to tell you, when I'm standing on that platform like I'm waiting for the rail train, I got to say the state doesn't know what it's doing. I mean, look at the rail problem. So they can't continue messing up with our resources. Gang, we got to question everything.
You got to question everything, and more than that, you need to know and be able to speak what you're talking about back to them, because as far as they're concerned, you're still wards. You're incapable of thinking for yourself. That's what a ward is. Is that you?
Okay, you loincloth wearing jungle bunnies. We'll see you next time on Uncle Hank Question Everything.
Hello, everyone.
Be a part of a minority view.
Ao he pau ike, i ka halau ho o kahi.